Hey there, badasses. Welcome to BadAzz Military Spouse Connection, the podcast that offers a platform for military spouses. Get ready to be entertained and inspired by unsung heroes who have unlocked their own greatness while supporting their active duty and military veteran spouses. Now, our hosts. From Blue Star Families, a Marine Corps vet spouse and caregiver, Laura Torres. Laura is a workforce development expert and certified badass military spouse. And U.S. Army officer, Lieutenant Colonel Ismael Ortiz Rivera, host of the Soldier for Life podcast and partner to a badass spouse. Join us as we learn what it means to be a true badass on BadAzz Military Spouse Connection.
Whoa! Did you feel that breeze for that train ride?
It's Thursday, the third Thursday of the month. Welcome. How you doing?
I was good. I was actually dancing very smoothly, like with the tunes as we getting right in, and then the train took over, and bam, we're on the ride.
That's
How
right.
are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, and we're gonna have a nice and excellent program. We have three powerful women that will share their experience and everything. So we're delighted that tonight everybody's joining us. So either feel free to write where you are so we can post it here, or any questions that you have, please write the questions so we're going to be able to
tell us where you're watching. We want to send you a shout out. We want to be able to go back and make comments and then tell you how beautiful. How's your summer, by the way, going along? You know, is it blooming? Is it rainy? Is it really hot? Is it mild? I want to know because we're kind of jealous here. How's your summer going for you, Ismael?
No. You see the background?
No.
This is when I went to the Niagara Falls in winter. This just is so hot here. It is so hot in Puerto Rico. Oh, I don't know. I feel that every time I go to the street, I'm melting. But the topic this time is summertime transition.
Summertime? Exactly. Summertime transition. So thank you so much for all of you who are joining us for another exciting edition of this BadAzz MILSpouse Connection Podcast. So, once again, if you are watching it right now, or if you watch the replay, you catch us afterwards, please type in there as #replay so we can also go back and thank you for supporting. We're so delighted that you're able to join us tonight. And every third Thursday of the month, we'll be here to provide you with really cool, awesome introductions and military spouse connections. My co-host, of course, of this BadAzz Connection is Lieutenant Colonel Ismael Ortiz Rivera. And of course, as you all know, my name is Laura Torres. The show is called the BadAzz Military Spouse Connection because we're all here just making things happen.
Yes. But the military spouse is the backbone. They help us. You are the one who hold the fort together. And the topic this time is going to be summer transition, embracing change and charting new path. Absolutely. There's sometimes this is the time there's 2 times in the year, although there's different cycles, but the 2 times in the year where there's a lot of transition in the Army. There's the PCS the retirement, everything. So that's where are we going to be talking today. But I'm not embracing the heat. I'm not embracing the dust. I want to embrace right now a nice cold swimming pool and get it sometime. I would like to go to the beach and get it sometime right now, which I'm close to the beach here in Virginia.
Awesome. Well, let's just pack up and go. But first, let's talk with our fabulous guest. Of course, as you mentioned already, today's episode is all about summer transitions, and all of us embrace transition and that sort of change in our life very differently, right? Some of us have to relocate. Even some of us after retirement have to relocate and move on. Other ones transition from different relationships. Things don't work out within our families, our spouses, our kids, you name it, or our kids transition to new beginnings in their own private life, also as adults. So how do you deal with those multiple changes in your life? And so we have three amazing experts who are going to talk to us about that, and give us the different, changes of that. So
Yes, the first is we have one is Jeanette Kahn. And we're going to introduce him later. Ericka Kelly and Lizzan Lightfoot. They are powerful women and that got a lot of experience they want to share with us. So why you don't introduce the first guest speaker?
absolutely. And let's get our first speaker with is Jeanette Kahn. She's an Army Career Program Regional Coordinator. Part of her duties is really to encourage soldiers to capitalize on the training, development opportunities throughout their military careers so that they grow and develop as soldiers at the full capacity, but also the military careers so that they continue to grow as they serve our nation ongoing, both in uniform and of course post civilian life. So it's a very, very honorable role that she's doing, and she's also a Army BadAzz certified military spouse. And so as soon as her service member will transition soon also as well, they retire. So welcome, Jeanette.
Hi. Yes, thank you.
How you doing, Jeanette?
I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
No, melting here. Because
It's hot here in Texas, too.
Yes, I'm in the third floor, and the AC goes to the first and the second, so the third floor is hot, but that's okay. The first thing that we always do, you're a military spouse, you want to share with us. We want the audience to know you, to share with us that funny story or that memory that you hold dear in your heart.
Well, I think, I've been a military spouse for like 23 years now, so it's kind of hard to narrow it down. But I was always thinking, I think, through the journey of being, all those PCS moves and, we have everything down, all the deployments, and I have my way of doing things. When we PCS and we move, I unpack, I put everything together. When we left Korea, my husband was doing a graduate program. The Army kind of let him do a graduate program for 2 years, and it was the best 2 years in the military. But I realized really quickly that I was used to him being away a lot. And so I had to adapt to him being there. And really the first clue is when, we're trying to unpack the house and I'm just barely starting to get stuff out and, trying to arrange, figure out where I'm going to put stuff. And he starts hammering pictures on the wall. And I'm like, no, wait, that's not how you do it. That's last. So it's just kind of like a funny little thing that, I had my ways, my set ways. And it's kind of like he had to kind of figure things out and how how I do things and kind of working together. So it's always kind of an adjustment, I think, in the military and figuring things out.
Yes, it is true. It is true.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, Janet. I had the hardest time adjusting as well, and we still are. Hector has a really, sometimes he was like, "Well, I guess I don't count here. My opinion doesn't matter anymore." Like, it does. Stop it. It does. It's just the kids are used to me all the time, and I'm used to me all the time too. So just hang in there.
It's always an adjustment. Them feeling like we don't need them anymore, but we do.
Absolutely, we do. Yeah. Now, Janet, there's of course, with a lot of summer transition, this is the timeline really for transitioning. Whether people are 50% of the military personnel who are married, 39% have children. And of course, everyone is really picking a new beginning in some way or another. But what opportunities the military spouses have in order to participate in their fellowships, career trainings through the Army CSP program that you are aware of?
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities out there. And honestly, it wasn't until I kind of started doing this job that I realized, how much is out there for military spouses. With the Army Career Skills Program, it's a transitioning soldier program. It is, it's for transitioning soldiers. However, we do have many of our partners that allow spouses to do the programs as well on a space available basis. Some can't do that, but we do have a lot. So we do have partners that have spouse fellowship programs. We have other programs that not only allow the spouse to, participate in that particular training, but if their soldiers doing that CSP, once they kind of look at where they're going, kind of they work with the spouse as well to find employment opportunities with, in other positions within the company. Some even, will have the spouses, fly out with the soldier and kind of do an orientation and include them in that, because a lot of them, I think, are starting to realize it's not just the soldiers or the service members that transition, it's the whole family. And so they're really doing a good job at trying to, give those opportunities to the spouses as well. So really, it's just about, going to the local, the TAP office. We have installation coordinators at installation. We do have regional coordinators as well, and they can, help assist and, see what programs are there that do allow spouses at their installation.
So let me. So the spouse are, if there's some space available, for example,
Correct.
the soldier is doing some training, some CDL or some welding training, so the spouse can go and take the training with them.
Absolutely, if there's space available, yes.
Okay,
it's really cool. I've gone in person to see some of the trainings, and there was, a husband and wife, spouses doing the program together, and it was really kind of cool to see, them being able to do that together, since we kind of do a lot of things, separately, throughout the military career.
So it's just kind of start a new season, a new transition, doing together something that we can do, both of us.
Exactly.
That's excellent. You mentioned about fellowships. What fellowship the military spouses can participate?
Well, I think one of the biggest partners is Hiring Our Heroes, and they have a lot of different, type of fellowships. They do one specifically for transitioning service members, but they also have a special program that's geared directly for the military spouse, in working with them, how to capture, the things that we do as spouses on their resumes, for instance, and kind of really gearing towards those kind of skills and putting it on paper, and how to, do internships and fellowships with other companies and getting them involved that way.
Laura? Oh, I thought that you were.
Sorry. I thought I was unmuted. Well, that's really wonderful news. And yeah, I'm totally fully aware of all these incredible fellowships, and the more military spouses take advantage, the more we can have these type of programming last, and we can see the demand. So that's absolutely. Now, Janet, in your specific, now, did I read this correctly? You yourself will be going through the transition process soon?
Yes, my husband will be retiring in November.
Okay,
so
great.
We're kind of starting to go through that.
So then I will put you on the spot in here and put, is there anything else you can do, we can do to improve our chances, our, career process, or on your own specific transition plan? What are some of those tips that we can apply to make it a better one for our families?
I think just reaching out to the spouse community and kind of hearing their experiences and best practices. There's like a federal resume class that, my branch chief told me about, and she said she had a lot of really good ideas of what to include on your resume as a spouse with, with the PCSs that you do, and, how it kind of highlights what we do when we have to PCS, organizational skills and problem solving, and, really just highlighting that, this is an asset and being a military spouse. So I would say just, reaching out to other spouses and seeing what's available, because I think that's the thing. Sometimes we don't even realize everything that's available to us.
Yeah. Oh my God, I have a question in mind. You just get out of. So, there's something that I found out also, the ability of the military spouses to go through the TAP process with the service member and take the classes. Is that possible?
I'm not sure. I don't really work on the TAP side of it. I just work on the career skills part of it. So I'm not sure. I couldn't say on that specifically.
You gave me a challenge. We're going to bring someone from TAP. So
good. There you go.
Can explain it, because you mentioned something. The transition is about the whole family.
It is.
The whole family going to the transition. The kids, the spouse, even the dogs, the animals, the
Yeah.
pets that they have, they go through transition, and it's something that needs to be planned. So, Janet, thank you for attending this episode of
Yes.
the BadAzz. We appreciate taking your time. We have a surprise for you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and we're gonna send you this,
Oh, wow.
the logo, and
And it
a
has my
mug. It
name
has,
on it.
oh yes, your name and your last
That
name
is so
here. So
cool.
you're gonna receive a bad mail. So I already complete the set of the last program and this program. So we're gonna be sending this next week. Please, thank you very much. Do not leave, because at the end we're gonna be together. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Bye.
Awesome.
Well,
Thank you. What a great resource our community has available there. So that's really nice. Thank you for that introduction.
yes, it is true. So the military spouses can participate in that transition with a service member.
Absolutely.
What
Okay,
is the next topic?
So we have a great next topic, of course, talking about transition. Part of our transition, of course, is adapting to a new mindset. Dealing with the triggers that just trigger our character or mood or happiness or just a level of change. And for that, we have an amazing contributor to our community. She's not a military spouse, but she's a badass female veteran for sure, and a great supporter of our military spouse community.
Yes. Our next guest speaker is a coach and trainer, as well as a professional speaker. She helped thousands of leaders to become better communicators, to establish trust and credibility with others. Her coaching skills and mentorship allow individuals to realize their own potential to achieve greater goals from themselves. Um, for themselves or for the company they're working, because sometimes we're stuck in a certain mindset, and we need to get out and be transformed. Um, Her name is Ericka Kelly, and she was also the 16th Command Chief Master Sergeant for the Air Force Reserve Command and the Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Chief of the Air Force Reserve. Let us welcome Miss Ericka Kelly. How you doing?
Woo!
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
tardes!
And now, ladies and gentlemen, this program will switch to Espanol.
Bilingual. So,
Welcome, Ericka. How are you? So good to see you again.
It is pretty amazing, and I am really honored, Laura, to always see you, Coronel. Un gusto, but it is extremely rewarding for me to be in front of an audience and to be able to continue to share some of the things that our military families go through. For this conversation specifically, the transition of what it takes to PCS in a military family.
Absolutely. Thank you. And it's such an honor. Almost every week when I get your emails, I go straight to your website to check out what's new. And today I'm going to sign up for this class. Today I'm going to sign up for this one. And then I run out of time, Ericka.
you know that when I heard the topic that you're going to be addressing today, it's summertime, the changes, it caught my attention. So I'm in the transition process too, right? And somehow I get stuck in a certain mindset. And I've been finding out that there's certain triggers, there's certain things that just I need to work them out, because I'm going from the military to the civilian life. I'm going to give an example. I was coordinating the 50th anniversary of my parents, right, in my hometown. So I work in my hometown as a teacher, and I was the MC with one of my cousins, and I was addressing the audience, friends like my parents, and someone just get close to me and said, "Remember, we're not your soldiers." So
Ouch.
yeah, I said, okay. So that's what we're talking. What are some of the triggers that affect most of the military spouses?
Yeah. Well, and thank you. That's an amazing question, because the triggers that we all face, the member faces specific triggers, right? Because sometimes the military member is in between the spouse, the family, and also obviously the work that they need to do. But one of the biggest triggers that, at least from my experience in the military of 32 years, has been for the spouses, the if it's a young military family, it's the unknown, right? They get those PCS orders, might be the first one, second, third PCS, and they're looking at it like, now what? To them, it's not this nice, well-oiled machine that just keeps moving humans right from here to all over the world. To them, it's this dark room where they've never been before, and they have to navigate with courage and with strength that dark room, that dark place. And the another of the triggers with that unknown as an umbrella is not knowing who to trust, not knowing who to believe, because they get so much information, good information, but which one is the right step? So the unknowns plural, would be for me one of the biggest triggers for a young military family. Okay.
And I can imagine also not only PCS deployments
Of course.
or training large time, or TDY is like takes 6 months away.
Well, yeah. So then on the other side of the coin is a very seasoned military family. And one of the biggest triggers that I have seen in the family dynamics, specifically now that I am working with spouses for them to possibly get different licenses and for them to transition, right? You mentioned TAP, but transition properly as a family out, from the military to the civilian side. But this is, if we just look at PCS and PCSing, another trigger is the very seasoned family, military family, then goes, here we go again. Right? So it's the trigger of, as you get very seasoned in the military, you get to a point of how much more?
Yes.
How much more are we giving? How much more are we saying yes to? Do they, whoever they are, big umbrella military, do they not understand what they're doing to us? That is a huge trigger that I have seen as people get seasoned, families get seasoned in the military. And then, right, and then you have maybe a third trigger that I would like to just present in this conversation, and that is I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm not going.
I'm done.
I'm done.
He can go. I don't have to put my career on hold for him.
Yes. So you were looking at my career as a spouse,
Yep.
my role as a parent, my role as a sibling. It's more of I have done it, and I get it that it's your purpose, it's your dream, it's our purpose. But I need to take a knee. I'm not going.
Yep.
That, so you ask about the triggers or of PCSing, and I think that there's a combination of all three always going, like, do I stay, do I not go, do I, here we go again, right? And then the unknown environments that a spouse, sometimes us, and I'm going to say us because, right, I was the service member. Sometimes us, it's our world, we speak the language and we know how to navigate through it. But not our family members. They do learn, but it's a different language and it's a different survival mechanism.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That was very powerful right there. I mean, for as you mentioned, I see this all the time with a lot of military spouses or more seasoned spouses as we get into a little
Yeah.
more, it either becomes a very we become numb to the transition, and you're like, oh, here we go again, or you know what, I'm not going, I'll stay here. He can go do his thing, and we'll separate the family. So with that in mind, Ericka, what sort of strategies are there to help military spouses to set up for this type of change or unexpected changes like this?
Yeah, I mean, change happens to all of us always. Transition happens to us throughout our lives always. But there are some key points in our lives where we are made as humans to pivot, right? One is to join the military. The other one is to marry a military member and start learning and understanding what that takes. The biggest strategic that I would share with the spouses in this beautiful audience is don't stop learning. Don't take a deep breath and go, I'm done. Right? My advice is yes, take a deep breath and try one more time. Just one more time. Because that transition is uphill. The transition is uphill. And in order for the family, in order for the nucleus, right, you, the spouse, is part. It's not over here on the outside of the frame. You are part of the picture. You're part of the picture. So your strength and your courage and your will needs to stay intact for the family to move forward.
I would like
just put the military aside a little bit. And I know that maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but let's just put the military aside for a little bit, because what's more important is the unity of that family to keep going. Because if the family keeps going, then the military will keep going.
Thank you. I mean, you said it wonderful. And I will add something. It is for the service member. He need to be conscious, and we need to be patient. Let the room for the military spouse, for the family members, to ventilate, to say whatever they need to say, because maybe this is a way for them to cope with the situation. Giving the because when you mention about PCS, you know what came in my mind? Every time that we buy something new, it's broken, and we need to change it. Yeah, and that dear set of bed set that we have is not longer anymore, so we have to substitute. It's an attitude that we get. It's really a trigger.
Yeah, it's a special way of living where you create amazing roots with the relationships that you build, but they're transient. It's just this way of getting really close to a community, and at the same time knowing that it's temporary, and you disconnect, and then you got to start fresh again. And that takes a specific personality, a specific sacrifice, a specific intentionality. And yes, absolutely, the patience of the military member and the love and compassion of the spouse.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to touch a topic which is neurologic, is sensitive. How the military spouse, what tools they are for the military spouse when they go in with these new expectations, and once they get to the unit, they find out there is a toxic environment.
Yeah.
And they see the service member, regardless the rank, being beat up, becoming different, and that service member striving, going forward. But what tell us what you recommend to the military spouse in that situation.
Yeah, well, maybe let me just share a little bit from the member side of
Mhm.
of me, right?
Yeah.
Living through obviously not my 32 years, but portions of my 32 years being exposed to toxic, horrible leadership, and how to survive, right? And the toxic leadership, uh, it's a cancer that eats everything. And if that leader that is causing that that feeling, that atmosphere is not removed quickly, then it definitely, that cancer will then go to the home and go to possibly the member's health. So, like you said, sir, right? Here comes a member being exposed to something that's very toxic. Sometimes you can talk about what's going on, but sometimes you can't. So you just come home and you just have this just dark, heavy weight that comes home with you. And how do you express it? Do you express it with sharpness? Do you express it by having a short fuse with the kids? Do you express it by whatever your rank is? That's who you become at home, right? And that's when people go, hey, like for me, my kids are like, mom, when are you going to treat me as your son and not as an Air Force member?
Wow.
And those are lessons that the member needs to understand. Now, your question is how can the spouse help that member navigate through a toxic environment? Remind and with love, with respect, and with understanding, remind the member that they're not alone, that you are a team, and allow the member to share as much as they want to share. And I would suggest listen. Sometimes as a military member, you gotta eat what you're thinking,
Mhm.
right? Depending on your rank,
Mhm.
you gotta just take it because of the whole situation that you're facing. So when that member, again, that member not being disrespectful to the spouse, is allowed to vent, cry, share that frustration, that anger, sometimes that bitterness of unfairness, and be able to regroup, be able to know that they have a partner, be able to know that they have a friend that's not going to judge and it's not going to criticize, and that together they can find an answer. What a military member sometimes is most afraid of when dealing with a toxic environment at work is that they will, if they share something at home, that they are going to be criticized.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's powerful. And if I may add, which I've learned through my wise years now, is also learning as a military spouse to just be quiet, leave it alone. Don't ask questions. If they don't want to share, sometimes just don't confront, don't ask questions. Just
It's something that you mentioned there. I just thinking is the mindset changing. I'm the spouse right now. I'm the spouse. This is my role. But maybe I need to be a listener. I need to be a friend.
Mhm.
Just changing my mind instead of confronting. It's like the I don't know how in English, olla de presión, like the pressure, the cooker. Pressure
Mhm.
cooker.
not
Mhm.
pressure for you.
Yeah, you cannot take everything. I remember the old ones. They have the bell.
Yeah, you gotta do it slow.
Yes, and so you have to turn it off, let it cool down before you open it. Otherwise,
Mhm.
the beans will be in there.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it. I'm sorry. When I saw that story, like they opened the pressure cooker and the beans end up in the roof in the ceiling. So, but
Mm-hmm.
it is true. It is giving the space to to change. Both of them, they need the space. The spouse need the space to maneuver. She need to have ample space to maneuver, as well as the service member be conscious, because the spouse is like the holding the fort home in home, and neither of them know what happened in home when I come, or she doesn't, or the spouse doesn't know what happened at the work.
Yeah, and let me just add something else to this equation, and that is that some military spouses are the service member is a female, and the military spouse is a male.
Yeah.
And traditionally, the male is supportive and protective, right? We're all protective, but there's just the different roles that we play. So when big military is putting a spouse into a very toxic environment, all of us want to then protect our loved one. Uh, but look at the roles of a female spouse, and also the role that a male spouse plays into that equation, and how um, sometimes they feel very helpless and hopeless. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thank you.
So, wow, this is really cool discussion, and I love the email that you sent yesterday. By the way, was really, really helpful. You know, the message about also, which actually tied in really good with this, Ericka. So we so appreciate all of the great contact you shared, and then of course, if anybody wants to get involved, you know, I'm a huge fan of Ericka Kelly, and when time allows me, follow her her trainings, and of course her team meetings that all you need to do is just do a quick check-in and join some of those groups, and you walk out of there with infused with energy, positivity, and just love. Really.
I just want to highlight that I went to the website, I see the services, two things that they all call my attention, but I like the mastermind on the disc.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But you know, if anybody goes into the website, just who cares? Just scroll down, and at the bottom it says to sign up for the email. And if you sign up for my email, you will get a leadership message every day.
Okay, it is here. You go to the end,
Mm-hmm.
and oh, this is awesome. And
Now, and Ericka is also an author. She has written 2 books now. So
Yeah. And I'm gonna do one on the army, sir.
okay, so you want to do one? Say it again, in the army.
No, about the army, because what I'm
Okay.
trying to do is I'm trying to really talking about mindset, help young people that do want the military to be a career for them.
Mm-hmm.
The first book about military careers is You Have What It Takes Air Force, but the second one is You Have What It Takes Marine, and I'm working on Do You Have What It Takes Army.
Oh, that's excellent, ma'am. That's
Mhm.
excellent.
that's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's a whole series there. So
Yeah.
if one is not for you, then the other, and there you go. There's your checklist that you need
Well,
to know.
different mentality for each branch.
Yes,
Absolutely.
ma'am. Absolutely.
Mhm.
So, ma'am, it's been it's been, how I can say it, it's been nurturing. I've been learning, and it's so important that people get to know what is the mindset. I appreciate you. I know that we have just a short time, but those nuggets are very, very important for our audience, the military spouses, to understand that they can pivot. I'm here, and I can change my mindset because the situation is needed. So thank
Yes.
you very much. And as a surprise for you contribute with the camera here. Here's your mug, Military Badass.
Oh my
And
God.
You are a Military Badass supporter official for the
yeah,
military.
and you are certified as a badass, Miss Ericka Kelly.
Boom, boom.
So thank you
And
very much.
this is a platform and a segment you can actually say it openly without
I
feeling like we're offending
knew,
anybody.
I know. But thank you.
Thank you. So we come back later with you, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Oh my God. It's just
So listen, just sign up to get the emails. I swear to you, every morning you'll get them. Ericka sends them to you, and then that changes completely the outlook and how you're going to have an
I'm
impactful
gonna do it.
birthday.
I'm gonna
I
sign up.
promise
I'm
you.
gonna sign up, and I recommend everybody to sign up because it's from a person who understands our life, who went through the
Absolutely.
process and understand who we are and what we need. Well, we have
Absolutely.
the third segment.
Yeah, third segment, of course, is devoted. We are, obviously, right here through this segment is devoted to talk about what can we do um, for when our service member is away, transitioning, but also all the different things that have happened through life, and of course, deployment. Uh, Transitioning to a new place, it's no secret to the military lifestyle. And of course, our guest speaker, who's next, Lizzan Lightfoot, is a writer, a military spouse, mother of five, a badass author of several books, including Welcome to Rhoda, and the best one, of course, that I may say, which is the Deployment Guide, right? I think it's the Deployment Guide, and the other ones, the latest one, which I love, Open When. Open when, I believe,
Yes.
right?
Oh, open when? Yes, I have it. Let
Thanks.
me let me
Oh,
share here.
yes.
Open when the military spouse book,
Yep.
and but we don't need to look at the webpage. We're gonna have her right here
Absolutely. She's
live,
right here, right?
Lisan.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for inviting me on tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for being here with us. How you doing?
I'm great. It's been really an honor listening to the background. Learned so much in the last couple segments. So I hope that we can close out with some equally exciting and useful information here.
The first thing, and I know Miss Erica is listening to us because she's in the background. You're gonna tell the funny story in your career, ma'am. So we're gonna get back to you. So the first thing is, if the people don't know, but we can see the in the background the other guest speakers are waiting in the background. Um, Lisan, we want the audience to know about you, something that you personally tell us a funny story. Something that you hold dear in your heart in those times you've been a military spouse.
Yeah, well, sir, I have 5 children, so it was pretty difficult to come up with an appropriate funny story because there's a whole lot of funny things that happen in my life as a military spouse and a mom. But on the topic of transition, I was thinking about when we were living in Spain and we had to leave Spain because we had orders to go to our next duty station, and we're breaking the news to our kids who were like kindergarten, preschool, and 2 years old, I think, at the time. And we didn't think if the kids had any prerequisites or screening qualifications for the next duty station, right? They're just at an age where we're informing them. So we told them the good news. Well, it looks like we're going to be leaving Spain and going to Camp Pendleton, California, where we have no history before. They've never lived there. And the oldest asked me her most important question: do they speak English there? And I said, yes. Contrary to southern Spain, everyone in California does know English, so this will be great for you. And then the next kid, he asked, well, is it near the beach? Because we're a Marine Corps family, we're usually stationed near the beach. And we're like, yep, Camp Pendleton is on the beach. And our youngest, I don't know where he heard this. He must have been around some other military kids who had been in California. And he goes, ooh, is it near Mickey Mouse and Disney? And we said, yes, in fact, it is. And so
Oh my
somehow,
God.
check, we satisfied all the kids with those orders.
So basically, the kids had expectations.
They did, that we had no idea.
Oh, wow. That's awesome
That's
because sometimes we think about when they get older, but they already have expectations.
Yep.
That's excellent.
and
Now,
that was really great that you were able to include your kids and and be able to answer some of those questions. Sometimes there's the time or the lifestyle doesn't allow for the kids to kind of get involved in the process of transition.
now
Absolutely.
having the other two, because that's when the first three, they were the panorama. With the other two, it got better, or
Well, we spread them out a little bit more as we went on. So the fourth child was born in Spain. She was actually an infant during that story. And the fifth child wasn't born until a few years later in California. So, yeah, they've experienced fewer moves. And I think it's always interesting to see how the older children process it compared to the younger kids.
Oh, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Laura.
Okay, so there, let's get to the transition process of military spouses and what they face. So in your experience, Lizzan, what are some of those things that military spouses face when the service member is deployed? What are some of those common challenges that you see in your group, through your workshops, and through all the support that you provide to our community, through your blogs and everything else? Yeah.
Thank you for asking. You were talking about transition, and what I've seen from deployment, not only my own experiences, but with the thousands of military spouses that I've worked with, is that deployment is a lifestyle. It's a short term, it's a temporary lifestyle. No one ever wants to hang out there forever, but it is a huge transition into a new way of life. Temporarily, you're figuring out so many things at once. The situation can depend, it's different for every deployment. So people face decisions like, should we move home or should we stay near our duty station? What's going to be the best decision to make for our children right now? Should I go back to school? Should I get a job? Should I quit a job? Should I work fewer hours? There's just a huge amount of lifestyle decision-making and transition that goes into that pre-deployment and early deployment stage. And I've seen this from working with spouses in my deployment support group, which I've been running for about 6 years now. And we have over 8,000 members that are all either actively going through deployment or preparing for one that's upcoming shortly. And I keep seeing the same questions regarding that pre-deployment or preparing for deployment stage. And people are asking a lot about, what can I do to get ready? I don't feel prepared. I know that my family is facing all of these changes. And on the one hand, I think we do have resources. There's places where you can get checklists. There's places where you can file your emergency paperwork and kind of get those official documents in order. And that helps a little bit. But what I have seen that helps spouses the most, and I think one of the former speakers referenced this, is the idea of kind of facing that uncertainty, facing that unknown situation, and doing what you can to make it a little bit more comfortable, more in your control, where you don't feel so stressed and so anxious about it. So I always help people with my ultimate deployment guide that you referenced before, and with the blog articles that I've written and the resources that I have on my site. It's always about preparing yourself mentally for deployment and, breaking things down into a way that's going to be palatable and livable for you. And instead of looking at it as this enormous, out of control situation where I have no power and no authority, to take back little pieces of that. What can I control in my own life, in my own daily schedule, in the next meal that I'm preparing? What can I do to find some sense of order and predictability and power in my own life when the military is just taking all of that away?
I would like to you mentioned the website. I'm going to put the website here. So if you're interested you can go to the seasonspouse.com.
Yep.
And you were mentioned too about the blog. Let's talk about your book, Seasoned Spouse: Encouragement for Military Spouses.
Absolutely. It's actually called Open When, Letters of Encouragement for Military Spouses. And I wrote this book. Well, it actually took me several years to write it because mom of 5 kids. It takes a little while to put these things together. But the inspiration for the book was actually my husband's 6th deployment. And at the time, it was his first non-combat deployment. Everything he had done up until then had been Iraq, Afghanistan, combat, very high stress situations, people coming back injured or not coming back at all. So for us, his 6th deployment, which was non-combat on a Navy ship, to me was a breath of fresh air. I was relaxed. I was like, this is going to be easy, no problem. And the other spouses in the unit were coming to me with all of these questions because it was their very first deployment situation and no one was really helping them to walk through it. And there's that lovely tradition in our military community of writing open when letters to the service member and, kind of stuffing them in the sea bag or their bags when they're getting ready to deploy. And it's for those times when we don't have communication. So it might say, open when it's your birthday, or open when you really miss me. And I love that tradition, and I participated myself. But I thought, who's writing letters for the spouses back at home? Who's giving them the words that they most need to hear in those little moments of military life that are so often overlooked or ignored, or we just tell each other, well, that's the military. Everyone goes through it. So, put on your big girl pants and keep going. And I don't think it should be that way. I think that people need to acknowledge that some of those moments are hard, even when they're little, tiny daily challenges. And sometimes spouses need someone to just sit with them and say, I see you, I hear you. I know that this is a difficult moment. And I've been there too, but here's some things we can do to take the next step. Here's how we can move forward through this. And to just sort of offer that light at the end of the tunnel that I think so many spouses are seeking. So that's what you'll find in my Open When book. Each letter is only a few pages long, and it's written to meet you right where you are. It's written to you, the reader, to offer you that inspiration and that hope that you might need in a very specific moment of military life. So in the deployment section, for example, some of the moments I discuss are open when you first learn about deployment orders, open when it's time to tell your children, open when you'll give birth without your spouse, open when you don't understand why you're arguing, and open when everything is falling apart, just as a selection sample.
Wow. So this is kind of a letter for every situation. So explaining, just a comfort, giving comfort, let it know that you are not alone.
Exactly.
You don't have to live this by yourself. You don't have to suffer it by yourself. Let me tell you what other experiences. This is awesome.
Thank you. I feel like for sure many spouses feel isolated. And the question that I get most often is not anything technical or specific, but it's more like, is it okay to feel whatever? And people are just looking for acknowledgement, for recognition, and permission to feel sad, frustrated, angry, happy, proud in this military life. I think we just need that reinforcement sometimes. And so that's what I try to offer in the book.
That's awesome.
That is beautiful. Now, talking about emotions and feeling sad and happy and all those different things, one of the things that we quite often don't accept or don't own up to is when we're feeling lonely. And, in your experience, Lizzan, what are some of those tools or things that we can do as military spouses to really master, how to deal better with this loneliness, deployment, and isolation timeline and transition? What are some of those good maybe tips or activities that we can do that might have helped you come out of any of those specific moments that you might have experienced loneliness or isolation from the community?
Yeah, I appreciate that, because it is something, like I said, I think every spouse at some moment somewhere is going to feel isolated and alone. It doesn't matter how close you live to family, how many friends you have on base or don't have, or whatever your history has been. We all have those moments. And I think it's okay to acknowledge them. I think when I was a younger spouse, they kind of caught me off guard and were very unsettling, and I didn't know what to do or how to get through them, and they can feel very overwhelming. But as I became a more experienced or seasoned spouse, if you will, then I kind of learned to be proactive. And before deployment would even begin, I would start building what I refer to as a safety net. And I encourage all spouses that are facing a deployment to do this, that you need to come up with your own network of resources that you're going to be leaning into during the deployment. And that might look different for everybody, but common things to have in your safety net would be just phone numbers of random people. We have to do a lot of quick speed dating and making new friends as a military spouse, but I would be aggressively proactive, walking up to the other new moms I'm meeting at the playground, or approaching another spouse at a spouse group meeting, or even just talking to other people while I'm in line at the school waiting to pick up the kids. I need to get their phone numbers, because just recognizing their face and saying, hi, hey, we're neighbors, is not going to help me if I'm locked out of my house, if I'm sick, if my kid needs a ride home. I have to have some emergency contact in the area that's not my family 3 time zones away that can actually respond and help me out. So there's some awkward moments there for sure, especially if you're an introvert. It's not easy to introduce yourself and to ask for those phone numbers and to admit that you might need that help, but it's always better to have them. So definitely collecting those phone numbers, finding those local people that are going to be your points of contact for an emergency. And then I think just facing some of those emergency situations that scare us so much. I've spent a lot of sleepless nights before deployments thinking through all the what if, how am I going to do this? And I find that if I just face the scenario, plan what I can ahead of time, then my part is done. I don't have to worry about it because I've planned as much as I can, and it'll happen or it won't, but I can let it out of my hands and rest a little bit. So especially when we were in California, I was very far from any family members, and I worried about what if I was injured in an accident, if something happens to me. People are hours away by plane to take care of my 4 young children. How are we going to handle that? And then I found out that there's a family care plan, which the unit is asking you to think through that exact situation. Who locally would take care of your kids in the first 24 hours if there's an emergency event? And you have to put names and phone numbers and details on that paper. So when you face that situation and you think, heaven forbid, I don't want it to happen, but if it does, I have filled out the paper. I have filed it with the appropriate people. I know that the situation would get handled by the police or the hospital or whoever, and I can let it go. I don't have to keep worrying about it every day. And so I think if we face all of those tiny fears throughout deployment, it's not always an official piece of paperwork, but sometimes just walking through, what if I get sick? What if my pet is sick? Who's going to take care of the pet? What if this situation happens? Who would give me a ride when I needed it? Just facing each one of those intimidating scenarios and then doing what you can to prepare, whether that's, like I said, getting the phone numbers, or maybe building up an emergency savings in your bank account, filing paperwork, or just having difficult conversations with your family to say, you know what, if this happens, I'm going to be asking you to help me in this specific way. And usually people will say, yeah, absolutely, we'll help you. So the more that you can face those situations, I think it helps to dissolve that anxiety as you transition into deployment life.
Thank you very much. We're just almost in time. Let me bring Ericka. I need to unmute. Before I forget, Ericka, you need to tell us that funny story.
Yes.
I've been thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. So the only thing that comes to mind is that public speaking, even though I'm a speaker now, public speaking has always been my biggest fear. And here I am getting ready to speak, and my audience are all generals. And so I'm nervous, really, really nervous. So I come in, but I'm prepared. I come in, I do my presentation, and it's about 15 minutes, not too long. And everyone's paying attention. And I'm like, yes. And I'm talking and just being me. And at the end, the 3-star that I work for goes, Chief Kelly, yes, sir. Do you mind doing your presentation in English?
I love it.
Did the whole thing in Spanish, and no one said anything.
Oh my goodness.
They just sat there very politely, very nice. They didn't even make faces.
I love it.
Then I had to readjust, and
that's a memorable story. Wow.
But I don't know. I don't know if that's a funny story, or
let me tell you, it is because when I have talking when I was, let's say, younger, talking in front of the audience, I got the freaks, they're scared. And due to my accent at the very beginning of my military career, I didn't know what to do, because I was the worst critic. The worst critical was me, myself. What are they going to think about my English, blah, blah, blah. So what I start saying, well, I'm going to try to do the briefing in English, but if you don't understand, I'm going to switch to Spanish. And people start laughing, and I'm kind of relaxed to be able to talk about.
Yeah. My brain just took over.
Say it again, ma'am?
I said my brain just took over and it just chose a language.
Yes, this is what
And I
happens.
did not even realize it.
Yeah, sometimes happens. And, oh my God, the time is over. Oh, listen. Here's Lizzan Lightfoot.
That's lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And
Thank
you are
very
officially a certified badass awesome milspouse. Listen,
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
everyone who comes through this program goes through that certification process.
you.
So make sure we'll send you the badge too.
Yeah. So the last comment, last recommendation to the military spouse. We'll start with you, Miss Kelly.
I say keep pushing. I think that this whole conversation has been pretty amazing at saying, do your best with what you have. Make that one step forward, understanding that you're doing it with the best decision making that you can, which is the information you have in front of you.
Okay, Miss Lightfoot.
Yeah, I just always tell the spouses, remember that you are not alone. Whatever transition you're facing, whether it's the PCS move or deployment or leaving the military, I know your specific details may be a unique challenge, but some other military spouse somewhere has been in a similar situation, has felt the emotions that you're feeling, has dealt with, the challenge and the fear and the difficulty that you're going through, and they made it through. And so you're going to be okay, and you're going to find your own way through as well.
Thank you very much. You don't know how much I appreciate, and I know Laura and Andrew how much we appreciate your presence, being talking to us, have that freedom and the learning process. Sometimes we, the service member, we forgot that thing that is, and I like the word, the pivot moment. So we need to switch. Like you were talking, listen, is how the two topics that were just balanced. I feel like that you were talking together in the conversation. How the mindset need to change when we are in the different situations. Regardless what is the situation, there is always room to pivot. If there is no room, we need to ask for that room. Spouses, don't feel afraid to ask your service member, I need the room. Leave me alone because I need to make a judgment, because it's not easy. Sometimes, and it is something that I know as we talk about the military, the army, in all the phases, all the forces, not the army. They don't understand that recruiting is about, I'm recruiting a family. I'm not recruiting a soldier. I'm recruiting a family. As a family, this is the military is a family business, period. Because the military spouse are there to help the army and the other forces to continue the mission, while you, the military spouses, are holding the fort in the home. So thank you, Miss Lizzan. Laura.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for all of your support and, of course, for chiming in with all these great discussion. As we all know, we're all done different transitions throughout the course of our life. Which, Lizzan, I have a topic for you. Open when you retire. That's another book that we want to work on. But as you know, the transition mindset refers to the process of course shifting one perspective and the belief system and all kinds of different things that trigger or unproductive and productive emotions. But most importantly, it tends to really trigger our negative emotions and reactions or behaviors. So I guess hopefully this particular segment help our audience and our members who might be able to listen, but also continue to follow up with you two directly by understanding and addressing some of those triggers. We can all work together and control the way we respond, and we are humans in this, create a more positive mindset for all of us. So really, that's the key for us through this particular segment and this particular topic is to be able to bring unity in just a topic that is very, very active within our community because there are so many stressors. So with that, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us and being here and for supporting through this segment.
Okay, stay back. We're gonna have a conversation after the program. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks
you again.
Wow, what a powerful program! I mean, it just changed my mind. It just changed my thought. I realized so much how much the military spouse is supporting us to do the mission, how much the military spouse is putting the fear, the load, similar load for us to be able to do the mission. We listen from Jeanette Kahn. There is a tool, that's the word. There is a tool for you, for the military spouses. You're transitioning with your husband. You can be part of the Army CSP. What you need to do is ask in the Army CSP or the Army TAP office in your base.
Yes, absolutely. Take advantage of all of these opportunities and get on it. As a military spouse, be intentional and take ownership, not only to support you, but also to support your entire family as you transition this, and your post-retired life as well transition.
Yeah. Also, we learn about the mindset. Having changed your mindset, be able to do that. I like that expression. I'm gonna keep it that pivot. Be able to maneuver, have the maneuver space, just to be able to handle the situation. And there are triggers that, for example, the PCS in the deployments, the toxic environment. What we can do in those moments is just being able to pivot, get the space to maneuver to the service members, the fellow service members. Give your military spouse the space so they can just make adjustment, because when they make adjustment, they're gonna make our life that way, because this is what they are helping us just to get our mission. It's excellent.
Absolutely. And of course, if you don't remember or if you forgot, but of course, Ms. Ericka Kelly shared, the just the mindset and how you can process different things, but also keep up with it by signing up to her emails and getting those boosts of energy, positive energy every morning that she's able to share with you. And then with Lizzan, of course, she providing guidance and being able to reach out for others for support. Don't keep it all on your own. This is a community, and building that list of supporters, allies throughout the course of your deployments, of your separation, of any other life experiences that might trigger that isolation within your family, because it's not just you, the military spouse, who goes through this. It's also your kids, and your kids are watching, and they are very observant of everything that we go through when we don't deal with the deployments or the separations properly.
Exactly. So again, thank you very much to our guest speaker and our audience for being here with us. And we're gonna get back next month, the third Thursday of the month, which is going to be August 17th. August 17th, we're going to be back with another episode of BadAzz MILSpouse Connection. So
thank you,
Laura, for being with us. And
happy summer, and you're free to exit the sauna now.
Next year, you're gonna see next year from Puerto Rico, I'm gonna create the portable AC unit, so you can have it here.
Yeah, right here.
So just refreshing your face. You're gonna see. Okay. Well, take care for everybody. Bye.
For more amazing military podcasts and content, follow us at paradedeck.com, the #1 place to meet changemakers. See you next time on BadAzz MILSpouse Connection, a Parade Deck original.